July 9, 1982. A Pan American Boeing 727-235 operated passenger flight PA-759 en route Miami-New Orleans-Las Vegas-San Diego. There were 145 people on board the aircraft, 138 passengers, and 7 crew members. The aircraft was flown by an experienced crew. Its composition was as follows. Captain, 45-year-old Kenneth L. McCullers, 11,727 flight hours. Co-pilot, 32-year-old Donald G. Pierce, flew 6,127. Flight engineer, 60-year-old Leo B. Anoon. 4 flight attendants worked in the cabin of the aircraft. The Boeing 727-235 operated scheduled passenger flight PA-759, callsign Clippers 759, from Miami to San Diego with intermediate stops in New Orleans and Las Vegas. The first stage, Miami-New Orleans, was completed without deviations, after which the crew began to prepare for the flight to Las Vegas in New Orleans. In total, there were 7 crew members on board the aircraft, 1 Pan American employee flying as a passenger in a reclining seat in the cockpit, as well as 137 passengers in the cabin. Before starting the movement, the crew requested and received the latest information from ATIS, which was as follows.
Time 1855 Zulu. Weather, 2,500 feet partly cloudy with breaks. Visibility 5.5 miles and haze. Temperature 3 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Wind 240 and 4, quiet. Altimeter setting, 1015 HPA.
Immediately afterwards, at 15:58, Flight 759 left the apron. The crew entered the following data on the airline's calculation form. Calculated gross takeoff weight of 170,000 pounds. Flaps at takeoff of 15 degrees. CG of 21.3% MR. Air temperature at takeoff of 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Wind of 320 degrees 4 feet per second. Pressure to set the altimeter to 1014 HPA. The decision speed, V1, and nose up, VR, speed was determined to be 137 knots, and the safe takeoff speed, V2, was 150 knots. A storm front passed over New Orleans that day, accompanied by moderate rain and partly cloudy skies. The cloud base was 2,985 feet and the top was 15,091 feet. Visibility on the runway is 1.9 miles. The crew requested clearance to proceed to runway number 10, and the air traffic controller granted this clearance. At 15:59 hours, the co-pilot requested an updated wind report, to which he received the data that the wind was 40 degrees 13 feet per second. Following the airport to the beginning of runway 10, the pilots completed the pre-takeoff checklist, and at 16:02 the taxi controller warned them of a low wind shear hazard. A minute later, at 16:03 hours, the co-pilot again requested information about the wind, to which the controller transmitted.
Wind now 070 degree 28 feet/s, maximum gusts 11 and 622 knots. We have information of low wind shear hazard across all sectors, and it looks like there's a front over us right now and you're in the middle of it.
Then the captain informed the co-pilot that they needed to gain speed faster, and therefore ordered to turn off the air conditioning system during takeoff in order to reduce the power takeoff from the side engines, number 1 and 3, thereby increasing the regime. Later at 4:07 p.m., the controller contacted Eastern Airlines Flight EAL-956, which was approaching runway 10, and reported that, according to the crew of the Boeing that landed earlier, at an altitude of 98 feet, the crosswind does not exceed 16 feet per second. At 16:06 hours, Flight 759 reported that it was ready for takeoff, to which the controller cleared the takeoff. And then the co-pilot acknowledged the information. It was the last message from Flight PA-759. At 16:07 hours, Flight 759 began its runway 10 heading 99 degrees east. As was later determined from the recording of the voice recorder, the captain spoke the speed values, that is, the piloting at this stage was performed by the co-pilot. Having run approximately 6,889 feet, the liner, with flaps extended at 15 degrees, took off from the runway and began climbing with a pitch angle of 7 to 10 degrees. All witnesses noted that this stage passed without deviations. But having risen about 124 feet above the ground, the plane suddenly began to descend. The nose was pulled up steeply to increase the rate of climb, but this did not help, so the pilots, on the contrary, transferred the aircraft to level flight in order to increase airspeed in this way, but this did not stop the decline. At 4:09 p.m., at 2,375 feet from the end of the runway, before the edge of the airport, and at an altitude of 49 feet above the ground, Flight PA 759 crashed into 3 trees with its left wing. The impact severely damaged the wing, after which the liner, rapidly entering the left bank, flew over the airport fence and over the adjacent highway, and 4,625 feet from the threshold of runway number 10, Flight PA 759 flying at a heading of 089 degree crashed into trees and houses in a residential area adjacent to the airport, the city of Kenner, a suburb of New Orleans, and then with a left roll of 105 degrees hit the ground, exploded and completely collapsed. All 145 people on board were killed instantly. Also on the ground, the plane demolished 6 houses, while killing 8 local residents and 16 more were injured, 9 serious. Thus, a total of 153 people died in the disaster. This is the worst plane crash in Louisiana history, and also one of the largest in the history of U.S. aviation. The investigation into the causes of the crash of Flight PA 759 was conducted by the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB. The final report of the investigation was published on March 21, 1983. According to the report, the plane hit a microburst during takeoff, which caused wind shear. Together with a downward airflow and a decrease in headwind, this led to a loss of altitude, and the crew did not have time to recognize this and prevent it before hitting the trees. The disaster was facilitated by the limited ability of ground equipment to detect small microbursts, which could affect the assessment of air traffic controllers and pilots to determine the risk of wind shear.